Hey there, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Pillars of Grief. It's been a minute since I have done any episode, and I'm not starting with an introduction or anything like that because we're doing it a little bit differently, because I'm out in nature, which is a phenomenal thing to do, especially anybody who's grieving. I've always said go out in nature, and so I decided that I would do this podcast episode as I'm out with a walk. And actually, I'm also out with my camera as I normally am. So for those of you that are watching, you can actually see the camera. And those of you who are listening, you can't, but at least I feel as if I'm connecting. So what I'm going to talk about today is something it's something that I understand quite deeply, but I get a lot of questions with this all the time. Hi. And it is always about signs, getting signs from your loved ones. And I've talked about this before in the past. I've given so much information about how to get signs and ask signs and how to understand the types of signs that you get. But a lot of people still don't understand it, because they may have information that is not right, that is sent to them. Maybe they had a reading with a medium, or someone says to them, your mother's going to send you a sign, your father's going to send you a sign, and they don't quite understand it. And so what happens is you tend to look out for something. Now, if I say to you, or if someone says signs of feathers or signs of butterflies that may be around you, or signs of your loved ones, I want you to try and understand that it's not that your loved one or spirit is sending you a particular butterfly, or manifesting that butterfly, or manifesting that bird, or just out of nowhere. Because the reality is, as I'm walking around here, I see loads of butterflies, right? That's really not going to be my sign. As I'm walking around this beautiful lake, I see loads of birds, right? So we tend to then get tripped up and think, oh, my loved one's sending me a sign, and it's a sign of a bird, or it's a sign of a robin, or it's a sign of a butterfly, and there's loads of them. Your signs are going to come to you in an unusual way, right? It's not going to be something as simple as the rainbow in the sky when it's been raining, then they send you a rainbow. And it tends to lead into having a bit of a false sense of security. Why? Because in our grief, we want to feel that we're constantly connected. We want to feel that our loved ones are always there, and that they're always giving us these signs. And so we tend to look for them. We're actively looking for them. And the reality is that when we're doing that, we may actually be missing what the real sign is. So let me give you a simple kind of example. So, as a lot of you know, myself and my wife, we've lost a lot of loved ones over this past year. It's affected us deeply, and I'm always just like you are, I'm looking for signs. I want to get signs for my loved ones, and my wife does. But we understand that it's going to be in a different way. We understand that it just can't be simple. It's not going to be a simplified thing that they're just going to say they're going to send you this sign, or you ask. I've said to many people before, ask your loved one for a sign. So I'll give you an example. I asked my loved one for a sign, and I asked to send me a sign for a particular thing, a sign of a particular bird. But I realise that there's probably a lot of them type of birds that are out there. But I know that it's going to come in a different way. I know it's just not going to be when I'm out and I see a bird and then say, oh wow, that's my sign, that's the particular bird. You don't see many of them, but at the same time, I'm aware that I'm going to be looking for them. I'm aware that there's so many of them there. So you have to have a bit of discernment. You have to get to the point where you understand a little bit about how Spirit's going to work with you. And so they're going to make you aware. That's what I want to say. They're going to make you aware, right? And it's about you becoming aware. It's them influencing your mind, influencing your thoughts to become aware of a certain pattern. That certain pattern could be anything, but it will be in an unusual way. Like, for instance, there was someone that I read for many, many years ago, and the mother had a particular penchant for dragonflies. Now, in Scotland, there's lots of dragonflies about, especially in summer and things like that. But this particular time, there was a dragonfly that was locked in the room with the casket and wouldn't go out. It was a big dragonfly. And so that's a little bit different now. You're probably hearing, because I'm at the point now when I'm walking around and the cars are to my right. But hopefully this will still kind of keep the noise down a little bit. So that's the difference, right? The difference was it was unusual. It wasn't that the person was out and could see lots of dragonflies. And in that reading, the mother had confirmed that that was a particular sign for her, because it was unusual. There was an element that she had become aware of this, and she was aware that it was unusual. Because she was aware that it was unusual, it became that strong feeling inside of her that was from her mum, right? So there's a couple of elements you need to think about. Awareness, you become aware, and then in that awareness, you have a feeling. And the feeling is unmatched. The feeling is deep inside your soul and your being. It's not that you just become aware of something and you just see it and that's it and it's just gone. No, there's a feeling that comes with that awareness. You may also feel a change in the energy around you, right? This is another thing that people got to learn and discern, that it's not just about seeing a sign. It's about becoming aware of the sign, becoming aware of the energy, becoming aware of the situation, becoming aware of your emotion. Then you've got all the recipe. That's you getting the recipe now for what would be a real sign from your loved one. Now, let me just jump back to my particular example that happened very recently. As I said, I'd asked for a particular sign. I'd asked for a particular bird and realised that it would have to be unusual. I would have to know, and it wouldn't be just one where a bit noisy there. That was a big lorry. So let's see. We'll go down into this area here and it'll be probably a little bit quieter as we get away from the traffic. Anyway, so I knew that the sign had to be unusual. I knew that I was going to look for the feeling, the awareness, and the whole situation. So here we are. I've asked for this sign. Not going out and expecting to see it normally as I would in nature. Not having any expectation and forcing myself to look everywhere. But knowing that at the right time I would be activated, something would happen. And that did actually happen. And so as I was driving, I stopped at a particular junction, moved on, it was busy with traffic. Stopped at this area. I felt the energy change immediately. I turned to my left and I looked towards a home. And I further looked, which was unusual because I'd have to turn my whole body right around to see this. And underneath this tree that was very low to the ground was a statue, small statue of that bird that I had asked for. And there was nothing else around. That one thing wasn't alive, wasn't a real bird, it was a statue, right? Then I felt that I knew immediately, I knew I was being made aware. That was the sign I needed. That helped. My intuition had gone on to overdrive. Spirit had connected with me, had given me that feeling, made me turn, have that awareness. And oh, there's a wee doggy trying to get to me. Had that awareness, and that awareness made my whole body pivot. And I looked underneath where I would not normally look. I would never look. I don't go peering under people's trees. And there you go. There was that sign. Now, there's lots of different examples where you may become aware of something like this. And it may mean something to you, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be in nature. It could be you ask for a particular sign, and later on when you're not thinking about it, you're not looking for it, that will change. The energy around you will change. You'll feel a power, you'll feel drawn, and you'll turn. And as you're feeling drawn and you're turning to something, or maybe you're feeling drawn to go down a particular area. Maybe you're feeling drawn to travel somewhere, and then all of a sudden you get down a road, down a particular street. Maybe you get diverted. Before you know it, there's your sign. Or it could be that it would come in another unusual way. So for instance, I'll give you another story. I had a woman that had come to have a private sitting with me, and that's many years ago in Scotland. And I had told her that her husband would send her a sign, but it wouldn't be when she expected it, and it would be a butterfly. Now, and also that butterfly would be connected to a rose. Now, here's the thing that's really weird. You could say to me, yeah, but Jock, there's butterflies, it's summer, spring, everywhere. There's roses in the gardens, everything else. True, absolutely, and you'd be right. You'd be right to be skeptical. But remember what I said was, it's going to come to you in a different way. And it's going to be, your sign is going to be unusual, and you're going to feel it. You'll know at the time. You'll know exactly at that time. And it won't be when you're expecting it, and it's not going to be immediate. Now, that woman had contacted me back again, probably, I want to say nearly a year later, maybe even two, I can't remember. And she told me the story of how this actually happened. So, most of you, when you talk about getting these signs, you'll be out and you'll be looking for them. So you'll make it fit. It's like pareidolia. You'll make something fit. You'll see patterns in the sky. You'll see patterns in things, and you'll say that's what it is, and it's in your awareness, and you connect that because you have a need. You need to be able to see that. However, this is where it becomes unusual, and I would love to hear all of your stories, right? You can contact me if you're a member or private community, then let me know in the community. And if you're not, then become a member and then let me know. I'd love to know about your stories about unusual signs. So this woman tells me the story that she had a knock at the door. Now, let me back up. She had bought flowers, and I'm sure it was roses, or it was mixed flowers with roses and things in it, but they weren't opened. The buds weren't opened, and she wasn't thinking anything of it. And she came home. She was shopping. She came home, and she went in, and the flowers were on the table, and one rose had opened, and the other flowers hadn't opened. This is what she was telling me. The rose had, and so you might think, well, Jock, that's normal. A flower could open, other ones don't open. Yeah, that's normal. But wait a minute, let's see the next thing. Then she has a knock at the door after she's come back and she's settling down for the evening. And it was someone who was a friend of hers 20 years ago that had sought her out to connect with her again after so long. Obviously then hearing that she had lost her husband, and she connected with her. They went in and she brought her a gift, and the gift was a gold butterfly brooch that she was given. Now remember what I said at the beginning, that there was going to be a connection between the rose and a butterfly, and it would be completely unusual. And notice that the time scale wasn't within a few days or weeks. This was a while. Now this is just one example. I'm not saying that you're not always going to get a sign quick, right? Because you can ask for a sign and you'll get a sign very, very quickly. There's loads of examples of that. I'm just trying to give you potential examples that you can look at and think, okay, that's unusual, and now I understand it. Because then when you get to that point of asking for a sign or asking for some confirmation from your loved ones, you'll know the recipe. You'll know that it's not just about you visualizing or hearing, it's about you feeling and sensing, become aware. And that's a phenomenal example of the rose and the brooch, and a great example of the bird and the statue. And if I thought about it, there's loads and loads and loads of probably examples of signs that I can give, and signs that we've had since our loved ones have passed as well. So it's important to understand, guys, that when you're asking for signs out there, or you're going to get a sign from your loved one, maybe they loved a particular thing, there's going to be a recipe to the whole thing. It is not just about you seeing a butterfly, seeing a rainbow, hearing a piece of music. It actually encompasses everything from the awareness, the emotion, the feeling deep inside of you, the deep knowing, the spiritual knowing, and using your sensory powers, using your senses, your 5 senses, not just your 6th sense. 6th sense is important, but you're using your 5 senses. So anyway, I rabbited on for quite a bit. Hopefully you get that idea of what it means to understand how your loved ones would send you a sign. They're making you aware. It's not that they're manifesting anything unusual or out of thin air, which, it can happen, but 99.9% of the times it's about them connecting with you, heightening your own deep intuition, your own spiritual power, making you aware, not controlling you, but just gently guiding you to go down that road, to look in that area, to turn that corner, to buy that book, to go to a coffee shop and meet a certain person who then confirms it without you knowing. So many ways, but there's always that awareness, that emotion, and that deep knowing, and that's what you have to concentrate on. Now guys, obviously this is the first time we've done a little bit of a podcast out when we're walking and talking, and if it's this something that you would enjoy, then maybe I'll do more of these. Just let me know. If you're a member of my community, then let me know your stories. I really want to hear about your stories, your weird stories, your stories that make it really unusual. There's a beautiful butterfly flying up to me. I'm not saying that's a sign, but it's beautiful. Now, and if you're not a member of the community, then please come and join us. Just go to my website. You'll find the details in the community. It's free, and you'll be with other like-minded souls, and there'll be some more stories in there as well. So, thank you for listening, ladies and gentlemen. If you've got any questions, reach out to me. God bless. Have a safe time. And remember, your loved ones are only a thought and an awareness away. Become aware and feel their presence around you. God bless.